The wind carries strange music through forgotten places. It moves softly through crumbling halls, brushes over cracked marble floors, and slips between the empty windows of what once were palaces, cathedrals, and dreams made of stone. Dust floats in golden light, dancing where laughter once lived. Ivy climbs up broken walls as if trying to hold them together, and silence settles like a shroud, deep, tender, and endless. Every ruin tells a story. Some were born from ambition, others from faith, love, or empire. Now they rest, half swallowed by nature, half remembered by time. Yet, there's beauty in their stillness, a beauty that belongs not to what they were, but to what they've become. Today, we're exploring 20 abandoned architectural marvels hiding in plain sight, forgotten wonders of the world that still whisper stories of glory, loss, and time itself. Number 1, the palace swallowed by the jungle, Angkor Wat. Cambodia, hidden beneath the emerald canopy of Cambodia's forests, lies Angkor Wat, the world's largest religious monument. Built in the early 12th century for King Suryavarman II, it was a temple to the god Vishnu and a symbol of divine power. Its towers were meant to touch heaven itself. But as centuries passed, the Khmer Empire fell, and the jungle reclaimed its throne. Trees wrapped their roots around carved walls. Most crept into the cracks of sandstone towers. Monks and explorers who stumbled upon it centuries later found nature and faith locked in quiet harmony. Today, sunlight filters through tangled branches, painting shifting gold upon the ancient carvings. Birds sing where priests once prayed. Angkor Wat stands, not defeated, but at peace, a temple where time and nature bow to each other. Number 2, the silent city Pripyat. Ukraine once alive with laughter and children's voices. Pripyat was the shining heart of Soviet progress. Founded in 1970 for workers of the Chernobyl nuclear plant, it had schools, parks, and bright murals on its apartment walls. Then came April 26, 1986, the day the world changed. The reactor exploded and the city was emptied overnight. Toys, photos, and everyday lives were left behind, frozen mid-breath. Now, trees rise through broken floors and wind hums through empty Ferris wheels. The sound of footsteps echoes like ghosts. Pripyat has become a monument not of power, but of fragility, a reminder that even the greatest human plans can vanish in a single breath of fire. Number 3, the island of Shadows, Hashima Island, Japan, off the coast of Nagasaki, lies a fortress of concrete in the sea. Hashima Island, known as Gunkanjima, or Battleship Island. Once, it was one of the most crowded places on Earth, home to coal miners and their families in the early 1900s. Tall apartments rose above the waves, and the hum of industry never stopped. But as Japan's coal industry died in the 1970s, life drained away. The workers left, leaving behind rusting railings and silent playgrounds. Today, only the wind remains moaning through hollow corridors. She spray paints the walls white with salt. From afar, Hashima looks like a ghost battleship drifting in the mist, a reminder that even the strongest structures can sink beneath the tide of time. Number 4, the Glass Palace of Rangoon, Myanmar. In the heart of Yangon once stood the Glass Palace, part of the Grand Burmese royal compound. Built in the 19th century, its mirrored walls and gilded pillars caught the sun like 1,000 stars. Courtiers and poets filled its halls, where music floated through perfumed air. But when British forces invaded in 1885, the palace fell silent. Fires scorched the gold, and time stole the light. Today, only fragments remain, splinters of glass buried in the dust. When rain falls, the shards still glimmer faintly, like the memory of a dream. The glass palace endures not in form, but in the shimmer of its story. Number 5, the Castle in the Clouds, Bannerman's Castle, New York, USA. On a small island in the Hudson River stands the shell of Bannerman's Castle, a fairy tale fortress built not by a king, but by a dreamer. In 1901, Francis Bannerman, a Scottish immigrant, built it to store military surplus and honor his heritage. The castle's towers rose proudly over the water, a curious mix of fantasy and function. But in 1920, an explosion destroyed much of it, and fires and storms finished what time began. Now ivy drapes its crumbling walls. The river reflects its broken turrets like an old memory trying to stay afloat. Bannerman's Castle is a poem of ambition, beautiful, fragile, and stubbornly still standing. Number 6, the ghost hotel of the desert, Kolmanskop, Namibia. In the early 1900s, German settlers built Kolmanskop in Namibia's desert after discovering diamonds scattered in the sand. Mansions rose from dust, filled with imported wine, marble floors, and European art. But when the diamonds ran out, so did the people. The desert moved back in, slow and patient. Today, dunes spill through windows and bury staircases. Inside one abandoned ballroom, sunlight filters through broken glass, turning the sand to gold. Kolmanskop stands silent under an endless sky. A mirage made real, then forgotten. Number 7. The drowned church Potosí de Paracotos. Venezuela, deep in the waters of a Venezuelan reservoir, rests the church of Potosí, built in the 18th century. When the valley was flooded to create a dam, the town was submerged, but the church refused to vanish completely. Each dry season, the tip of its bell tower rises from the water like a ghost breathing. Birds rest upon it. The reflection trembles below. It's a haunting sight, faith still visible above the surface, even as the world it once blessed sleeps beneath the waves. Number 8. The opera Frozen in Time. Tskaltubo Spa. Georgia, once a glittering spa resort for Soviet elites, Tskaltubo was famed for its healing waters and grand architecture. Marble halls echoed with music, and dancers twirled in candlelight. After the fall of the USSR, it emptied almost overnight. Paint peeled, chandeliers cracked, and silence replaced applause. Today, ferns grow between the tiles, and light falls like lace through the shattered roof. Every step in its ballroom sounds like an echo of elegance, a ghostly waltz in an empty hall. Number 9. The railway to nowhere. Canfranc Station. Spain, nestled in the Pyrenees. Canfranc Station was once the pride of Europe. A massive railway terminal linking France and Spain opened in 1928. It had hundreds of windows, chandeliers, and marble staircases fit for royalty. But wars and politics severed the route. The grand train stopped coming. Dust replaced passengers. Now the station sleeps under the mountain shadow. The rails rust, and pigeons nest where customs officers once stood. It feels like a palace built for ghosts, waiting for a train that will never return. Number 10. The Garden of Silent Gods. Hampi. India. Among the boulders of southern India lies Hampi, once the capital of a vast empire. In the 14th century, its temples and palaces gleamed with gold, music, and celebration. But war reduced it to ruins. The Vijayanagara Empire fell, and the city turned to dust. Yet the stones remain, carved with stories of gods and kings. When dawn breaks over Hampi, soft light touches the worn steps of forgotten temples. You can almost hear the faint hum of prayer. Time may have taken the kingdom, but not its soul. Number 11. The deserted monastery. Petra, Jordan, carved into rose-colored cliffs nearly 2,000 years ago. Petra was once a bustling Nabatean city, a crossroads of trade, art, and faith. Merchants brought silk and spices through its narrow canyons, and its temples glowed in the desert sun. But when trade routes changed, the city was abandoned. Sandstorms filled its streets, and silence took the place of voices. For centuries, Petra slept, hidden beneath layers of dust and myth. Today, sunlight spills across the stone facades, making them blaze like fire. Footsteps echo softly in the canyon called the CQ. Petra remains a city of ghosts and gods, eternal, serene, and carved into the very bones of the earth. Number 12. The castle beneath the sea. Château de Frontenac ruins. France. Along the French coast, where cliffs meet wild waves, the remains of Château de Frontenac rest in quiet disarray. Built in the 16th century by a nobleman obsessed with the sea, the castle once gleamed with white towers overlooking the Atlantic. Over time, storms gnawed at its foundations. Salt and wind broke its walls. The ocean swallowed its gardens piece by piece. Now, only fragments remain, half buried in sand. When tides recede, arches and stairways appear, shimmering in the evening light like a dream just surfacing. The sea took the castle's body, but left behind its reflection. Number 13. The forgotten fortress. Bhangarh Fort. India. In the shadow of the Aravalli Hills lies Bhangarh Fort, a 16th century citadel wrapped in legends of curses and sorrow. Once alive with trade and laughter, it was abandoned after famine and war struck the region. Today, its stone gates stand tall, but within them nature has returned. Monkeys leap across battlements, banyan trees split ancient walls. As twilight falls, even birds seem to quiet their song. The fort feels suspended between history and myth, not just a ruin, but a memory the earth refuses to forget. Number 14, the Winter Palace of Dreams, Ordos City, Inner Mongolia, China. Built in the early 2000s, Ordos was meant to be China's city of the future. Wide boulevards, glittering skyscrapers, and grand cultural halls designed for 1 million residents. But the people never came. Economic shifts and overambition left it empty before it even began. Wind now races down its empty streets, past statues and fountains built for no one. Streetlights flicker against the dust, and glass towers mirror only the sky. Ordos is a modern ghost, proof that even in our time, the echo of hubris sounds just as haunting. Number 15, the Frozen Fleet, the ship graveyard of Staten Island. USA, on the shores of Staten Island lies a strange sight, hundreds of rusting ships resting in shallow waters, their skeletons breaking the surface like bones. This graveyard began in the early 20th century, where old ferries and tugboats were brought to die. Decades of tide and time stripped them bare. Now seagulls perch on the tilted decks and reeds sway where sailors once stood. The metal groans in the wind like a fleet whispering stories of oceans long crossed. The ships are still, yet somehow they still move, drifting through memory instead of sea. Number 16, the sunken city Kekova, Turkey. Off the southern coast of Turkey lies Kekova, a city lost beneath the waves. Once a thriving Lycian port, it sank slowly after earthquakes in the 2nd century. Now, under clear turquoise waters, you can still see stone walls, staircases, and doorways, entire streets beneath the sea. Boats glide above them silently, and sunlight ripples across their remains. Kekova is a world between worlds, where fish swim through doorways and coral grows on old windowsills. It's proof that even in ruin, beauty can bloom underwater. Number 17, the Cathedral of Silence, St. Dunstan-in-the-East, London, England. In the heart of London, between modern skyscrapers, stands the shell of St. Dunstan-in-the-East. Built in the 12th century, it survived fire, war, and time, but not without scars. After World War II, bombings left it roofless. It was never rebuilt. Instead, nature stepped in. Ivy crawled across the walls, and trees rooted in the aisles. Today, sunlight filters through empty windows onto green grass where pews once stood. The church no longer rings with bells, yet its silence is more sacred than sound. It is a chapel for the soul, where ruin has become rebirth. Number 18, the Grand Hotel by the Lake, Hotel del Salto, Colombia. Perched on a cliffside near Tequendama Falls, the Hotel del Salto opened in 1928 as a retreat for Colombia's wealthy travelers. Guests dined beside mist and thunder, where waterfalls plunged into a deep ravine. But time and pollution darkened the waters, and the hotel closed its doors in the 1990s. It stood empty, shrouded in fog, like something out of a forgotten fairy tale. Today, it has been reborn as a museum, yet the air still feels thick with stories. When mist rises from the falls, it wraps around the old balconies like ghostly lace. The beauty remains, quieter now, but eternal. Number 19, the Frozen Palace, Pidhirtsi Castle. Ukraine, built in the 17th century by a Polish nobleman, Pidhirtsi Castle was a masterpiece of Renaissance and Baroque design. Chandeliers, ballrooms, gardens that seemed to stretch forever. But wars, looting, and decades of neglect left it scarred. Fire devoured its interiors, rain soaked its ceilings. For years, it stood forgotten, its grandeur veiled in dust. Yet even in ruin, its symmetry is breathtaking. Moonlight gleams on cracked marble floors. The castle may have lost its riches, but not its grace. Some beauty, it seems, was built to survive tragedy. Number 20, the Garden of Eternal Autumn. Herta, St. Kilda, Scotland, far beyond the Scottish mainland. The island of Herta once held a tiny village, stone houses clinging to cliffs overlooking the endless Atlantic. For centuries, families lived here, isolated yet content, surviving on seabirds and wind. But in 1930, the last residents left, unable to endure the storms and solitude. Today, grass grows through their homes, and sheep graze where laughter once echoed. The island hums with wind and sea, a hymn to endurance and departure. St. Kilda remains a place where time feels soft, where every stone still remembers a name once spoken. As we leave these silent halls and empty streets, one truth lingers. Nothing truly disappears. The palaces, temples, and towers we've walked through today may crumble, but they still hold something sacred, the memory of hands that built, hearts that dreamed, and lives that believed their creations would last forever. Time is a patient artist. It paints over our triumphs, softens our edges, and turns our monuments into stories. But maybe that's what immortality truly is. Not the structure itself, but the echo it leaves behind. These ruins may be silent, but they still have stories to tell. If you felt something walking these forgotten corridors with us, leave a comment below and share which place spoke to you the most. And if you'd like to keep exploring the beauty that time forgot, like, subscribe, and step with us once more into the echoes of history.